A friend of mine has been constantly diagnosed, without consent, by someone he's dating who studied psychology. As a certified psychological counselor who chose not to practice because of the disappointing and unethical behaviors that, surprisingly, seem to sell well, I've made some observations about people who majored in psychology. First observation. There's an overemphasis on emotion recognition. Many psychology programs, especially at the undergrad level, spend a lot of time teaching students to recognize emotions, like spotting a frown or identifying sadness from a face or voice. On the surface, this sounds valuable, but research points out that focusing too much on these surface cues comes at the cost of teaching more nuanced, real-world understanding. For example, Robin Sutton and Keith Weldell note that merely teaching students to recognize emotion can actually turn emotion into a kind of checklist, sometimes leading students to oversimplify complex human interactions. Second, many programs don't teach students not to analyze others without consent. Have you ever had a friend try to psychoanalyze you without asking? Studies show this is a real gap in psychology education. Even though professional ethics make it clear that analyzing or diagnosing people without their permission is a bad idea, most psychology curricula don't warn students against doing this outside clinical settings. Dr. Jeffrey Barnett discusses how education tends to focus on boundaries in therapy, but not enough on discouraging armchair analysis with friends or strangers. Third, pop psychology and shallow labeling are on the rise. A lot of psychology students end up using big terms, like narcissist or gaslighting, very casually. This habit can turn psychology into something like pop astrology, with labels thrown around and real depth lost. As Dr. Scott Lilienfeld warns, this shallow use of psychological language can be misleading and even harmful, reducing nuanced understanding to simple catchphrases. So what's the takeaway? If you're studying or using psychology, be mindful of these trends. The science calls for critical thinking, ethical use of knowledge, and more humility, not just memorizing tests and labels.
This is Jade, helping myself and others find the justice we deserve in science. If this inspired you, subscribe and check out my playlist, Side Eye with Science, for more similar content.